Solar power to us means a lot. We reduce our carbon footprint, and there's nothing that any company could do that makes them more environmentally friendly than producing their products in the United States.
Precision crafted means that we provide a product that is both beautiful and technical, that balances art and science.
Every interaction that you have here at Bora, from design to delivery, we want you to have that extraordinary customer experience.
On-time delivery means we've never missed an event date, ever.
When we're inspecting every product that we're making, we have total confidence it's made properly.
Normatec recovery systems give you a high-tech compression massage for warm-up pre-workout and recovery post-workout.
The technology is very safe and is used by a broad range of athletic types and really any fitness enthusiast looking to get the most out of their workout.
The whole idea is that we're using air compression to help increase circulation in the body. We wanted to mimic physiology, the way the body moves fluids. We went ahead and took a lot of those principles and put it into a system that you can use on your different extremities and your hips as well.
Normatec has been an industry leader in pneumatic compression, providing improved mobility and profound healing for thousands of patients. We continually work with researchers to study and develop the effectiveness of our technology.
It's all about creating that community space where people have a conversation around recovery and start really challenging their beliefs in what is possible and what they've known and maybe what could be.
Come on, move. Of course, there aren't any spots. A few minutes won't hurt anybody. Thanks, Grandma.
Paralyzed Veterans of America works tirelessly every day to create a more accessible America. Let's leave the accessible spaces to the people who actually need them. Whatever the reason, excuses don't excuse. Join PVA and be part of the solution. Honor the spot.
I just want to say welcome to everyone who's joining us. I mean, we're thrilled to be a part of this unique and innovative effort to grow the sport of cycling, particularly in the Glen Ellen area. Many of our residents are cycling enthusiasts, be it competitive or casual, and the Echelon Racing League will give them a chance to participate with others who share that passion for cycling. You know, apart from being fun, cycling in all its forms promotes community health and economic development, and we're very excited to be part of this process. You know, Glen Ellen is a community that is very diverse in terms of both its residents as well as in its geography. And what makes it unique within the DuPage County area is that it has a lot of changes in the topography, particularly on the course that the races run on. You know, it runs sort of a circuit around Lake Ellen. So in the center of the course is always one of the more beautiful, iconic symbols of our village, which is Lake Ellen. But the course itself includes a lot of changes in elevation. It has a lot of different challenges to it in terms of the turns and, you know, the straightaways. And so I think for both amateur as well as professional, it provides a really unique challenge. But it isn't so daunting that an amateur cyclist really couldn't benefit or enjoy participating in the race.
Well, there you have it. That's the route for today, and you can see it is a crit race going around a lake and a sports stadium. So very fitting setting for the Intelligentsia Cup here today. First up, the ladies' race, 4 p.m. So this will be laps. It's about 2.9 kilometres a lap. So you can judge that. Only 134 metres of climbing. So I think this is going to be interesting insofar as the ladies' races that I've commentated on so far, very much the hills have sorted them out a little bit. There's only 39 seconds to go, and we have, I see Anna Rankanen is in there, Kate Ouellette, and Dora from Germany, and Kozov, what have we got? Kolodzenci. I'm struggling with the Polish there, but we've got a Polish lady. Anyway, here we go, 17 seconds before the off, and actually the lineup looking a little bit bigger than I first read it out. Some of those in there are cameras. I see there's a Dutch lady in there as well, which this will all become apparent as they go off. A decent field actually. Anna Ronkanen taking an early lead from Kate Ouellette. Big stars in this alongside Dora, the German, in second place in the white jersey there, as you can see, as they go around a very, very sharp bend there. And don't forget that RGT has braking in it, so when you hit one of those corners, you are going to actually be forced to brake, and that one there would, I would assume, have some braking on it. Now these three have broken away. They've got 50 metres on Griselda Builder there from Spain, with Breton Richardson. We've got Richardson from the USA, who actually just it looks like Gazdosh is making a bit of a play to get into this breakaway 4, and there's another very tight bend, and you do wonder if the braking there can play into the hand of Gazdosh, the Slovenian, just catching up a little bit. I think it's Slovenia. There's a couple of flags out there in Eastern Europe that look different, and I'm only looking at the table at the side of your screen and trying to scrutinise the little badge in the middle, which determines which country it is from. I think it's either Slovakia or Slovenia. I mean, there are some very tight bends on this. Look at this. But we now have a group of 4, and they're 189 metres back to Breton, the Canadian, Richardson from the USA, another sort of 60 metres back from there, and Senlo from the Netherlands, or Denlo Marino, sorry, and Griselda Pulja from Spain further back in another little group with Kolodchikov, Jesh, I think that might be, way back. The 2 poles there, in fact. Well, there is a little bit of a gap between them, but they look like they're together, don't they? And Roncainen taking a little bit of a surge, and we have Breton here, the Canadian. Be interesting to see her statistics, if we've got any details on the output, and see just what she's doing. Is she going to catch him? She's 140 metres behind, and you see Richardson here is now a further 130 metres behind her, but has gained ground on the riders behind. So it is terribly hard to ride one of these races when you are out there solo. It is, you see those tight bends again. So as I say, you build up a head of steam, but it's going to sort of make you brake, and it really is, I think, how you come out of these. If you've if you've ridden any of these RGT races, so what happens is that the braking sets in. As we look at 7th and 8th positions now, Griselda Pulja from Spain sitting on Daria Marino's wheels there, getting the benefit of the draft. This is another great feature of RGT, that you do get the benefit of the draft, and Griselda there looking a bit it's strange actually. I don't know about your screen, but it looked like she was wobbling on the screen here. It must be my internet connection, of course. But yeah, very smart move here, because you do get the benefit of the draft, and if you can sit on somebody's wheel and maybe pip them in the sprint, or maybe just even get a better position than you would have done, or better time than you would have done without it. So at 2 kilometres we are sort of coming up to the stage where we are going to end lap 1, and you can look at the bottom of your screen, see this is almost a flat course, no real gradients or anything of any note. Oh, I see the poles are both in... I didn't realise they're both in hand cycles. This is another great new feature of RGT, that you can have the hand cycles here. I hadn't realised there were 2 ladies in hand cycles. This is fantastic. There is a hand cycle race in this series, but I suppose the dilemma is, do you enter the men's hand cycle or the ladies' race? And they've chosen the ladies' race, which is great because it helps populate it. And oh, well done. I think they can have their own little race. And I see that Kolodchik is sitting on Shooter's wheel there. They almost look connected, don't they? It's sort of like a tandem there. Wheels interlocking there. So it's like the first hand cycle tandem you've ever seen. Or maybe just the first one I've ever seen. And actually we have a little bit of a split. Something's happened on this just towards the end of lap 1, as we go back to the leaders. Now, as I was saying, now these guys are on lap 2 now, because you can see that this group's grown at 5. Breton's got back. That's pretty impressive, the Canadian. So group of 5, this is panning out to look like a good race, and if this group sticks together, we can end up with a very exciting sprint. We're just over 10% of the way through the race, and as you can see in the top right hand corner, it is 30 kilometres to go, 3.5 kilometres done. Oh, there's somebody just dropping off there, a couple of riders when they get back on Roncainen. Breton of course has done all this work to catch up, and if Roncainen goes off the front and actually stretches things, this could be very, very hard for Breton to stay in there, but she's battling away right now, and she's not giving up. Meanwhile, the chase is on. Dora, the German, pushing to ensure that Roncainen doesn't get away. Anna Roncainen is one of the top riders, so is Kate Ouellette, who you see here. Kate Ouellette is in charge of the RGT Ladies Facebook group, and ladies watching, please do join and be part of that. I've no idea what you'll talk about, so I'm not allowed to join, but I think it's a great idea, and Kate superbly runs that, so give her a bit of support and sign up. So that's the Facebook page for RGT Women. I think it's RGT Women or RGT Ladies. Do both and see what you get. But anyway, Kate runs that, and I'm sure she does a superb job, although she won't let me see what they talk about. So actually, we've got the Slovenian out the front now as well. Not much in this. It's a little bit of a sort of break. They're not quite bunched up together to get the perfect effect of the draft, are they? Brett and the Canadian sporting a very Canadian coloured jersey, if I may say so. And the 5 looking a bit back together again. I think they're pushing out quite a lot. I mean, this is 36 kilometres and 36 kph, I should say, and that's reasonably. I think that's reasonably fast. I mean, it is a flat course. I mean, you wouldn't expect there to be too much slowing down, apart from these bends, of course, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, I started to say this earlier, that when you go through those bends, there's a couple of things. If you're a little bit wider out on the bends, you brake less, and if you're on the inside, you brake more. And there's a skill, and it's one that I don't possess, so I can't really enlighten you as to how to do this. But if you are able to understand the dynamics of this, so that hitting one of those bends, you're slightly on the outside rather than the inside, you get the slight benefit if you don't brake so much, which makes it slightly easier, as I understand it, to pull out the bends. I mean, you just look at that shot and oh, there's somebody's got a mechanical there and stopped, haven't they? I'm not sure who that is. Can't see anybody on naught there. It might have been one of the camera bots, but let's hope that everybody's safe and sound and still going. So the leaders, 5 kilometres into the race, 28 to go. Look at that little chicane there. Just takes the edge of your cycling, and look at that, a 90 degree or nearly 90 degrees bend. So as I say, what happens if you go through one of those bends on the inside? You can see the rider there, Gazdash, was on the inside and just got a little bit dropped as they came out of the bend. And I suspect this is because all of a sudden it's braked you more than them, and you suddenly got to put that effort into catching them up. Now, if you're in a big gear, basically the effect of the braking can mean you should be a sort of gear or two down as they lap one of the other riders. I think it's I say that, I'm not sure if it's one of the other riders. It could of course be a camera bot, so don't assume that people are getting lapped too much. And in fact, I don't think anybody can be lapped actually, because the laps are about 2.9 kilometres, and in 10th place Suter, the pole shooter, is not more than 2.9 kilometres back. Another one of those tight bends there for Griselda and the Dutch lady Moreno. Griselda very much making use of the back wheel there. I mean, I think this is quite a cute tactic, and I don't blame her at all. And we can see they're on 5.36 versus so you know, good kilometre difference now between the ladies at the front, and we have a little bit of a breakaway by the looks of things, maybe, do we? I think people are putting a little bit of effort on the front in this group of 5, trying to shake people off, but hitherto it hasn't worked. And at one point, you know, if you're one of these riders that is hanging on, see, Kate Olette's just got back on. The 2 at the back are very strong riders. I would expect these 2 to be able to hold their own in this group, and we shall see what happens later. I think Griselda's still sitting on Marino's wheel, and we've got Richardson not far behind, actually, only 29 metres behind, as they overtake somebody. I'm not quite sure who. Again, it might be a bot, so don't read too much into it. So this 5 still inseparable, and it's another one of those sharp bends. Let's see what happens on this bend. They all go round. Look, Kate Olette suddenly has to sort of just put a couple of extra strokes in to make up that ground, and she wasn't even on the inside. So it's you know, it's just telling that you know, the wrong gear, or maybe just the wrong gear as you come out of there is what happens. You know, maybe you drop a gear, you go in, and of course this is where the experience comes down. And these ladies are regular riders, and they have that experience, I'm sure. As I say, I've ridden enough RGT races, never actually managed to perfect it, and I think I should be able to do it, but I'm probably better than when I started, put it that way. I think we all learned something. Another one of those sharp bends again, and it just you just get that impression there that Gazdash just lost a few meters on that bend. It's a gap now. It's a gap. The 5th place Gazdash has got to. She's now 20 minutes. I think she's been dropped. The Slovenian has been dropped, and it happened on one of those sharp bends. Here again, you get slowed down, and then you can't even sprint out of that one because you get another bend again. And look at that. Britain's used that bend to her advantage, pulled away, and Kate Alette and Anna Ronkainen not having any of that. They're fighting back. This is a group of 4 now. I don't think Gazdash is going to get it back now. 80 meters back, and that was all on a bend. We don't know how her legs are feeling, whether there's other factors at play for that to happen. And look at her watts per kilogram compared to the others. The front group, I mean, you look at we're looking at the left hand corner now. It's Andre Breton. Actually, that's a I'm just having a look there. That's a male avatar, isn't it? I think a name like Andre, and that's Cycling Club Denmark. I think Breton might be disqualified. So poor old Gazdash here. Actually, I think he's got another man here, haven't we? That's a male avatar, and it's Andre Gazdash. So we've got a couple of Andres in here that don't look very feminine from their avatars and have names that are almost certainly male. Okay, so that rather shakes things up. Dora's the other one that I don't know, but I think Dora, we can assume, is female. Eva Maria, Dora, definitely female avatar with a female name. So I'm quite happy with that one. So I think we can assume that Breton is doing nothing other than helping the pacemaking here, because that's not going to count. And Gazdash, I think, as well, now out of the group, has probably done his or her bit for the day. So what is that rather changes the dynamics of all of this, doesn't it? So we'll have to see what transpires in the light of that. As I say, I'm not the commissaire, referee, or umpire in any shape, manner, or form, so it's not my decision to disqualify any particular rider. But I think we can reasonably assume that Andre Breton with the male avatar is probably not going to be counted as an official finisher in this race. I bet he's getting a good workout though, assuming it's a he. So Eva Marie Dora, the German, she goes around that corner. They stay together in that little group there. Kate Alette and Anna Ronkainen with Andre Breton. Gazdash, Slovenian, now back 180 metres. Not going to get caught by the next two, and I think there might be a little bit of a gap between Denia Marino from the Netherlands and Griselda Pulja from Spain, España. There's a gap of about 8 metres. I don't know if Griselda is able to pull that back or not. And then behind that, we have Richardson from the United States riding solo. It is very hard to ride solo in this. I mean, the fact is that these girls at the front are getting the benefit of being in a group. Yes, oh, Sebastian, oh dear. It's another male avatar as well, isn't it? I know Griselda Pulja, so I know that the Spanish rider is female, because I actually have been in communication with her, because she rides in my races, which take place on Wednesday evenings at 7:30 United Kingdom time, and they're called West London VR races. They're all very short, 16-kilometre sprints. This one coming up this Wednesday is very, very flat, perhaps almost as flat as this one, maybe not quite. So we suspect we have 3 males riding in this race, females and 3 males. It all rhymes, but it's not ideal, is it? So Eva Marie Richardson now sorry, it's not Eva Marie, is it? It's yes, it is. She's 8.74 kilometres. So she's about a third of the way through the race, and she will be solo, and it will be hard because there's no one to sit behind, whereas the girls at the front working in that little group with the help of Andre Brett. Now the two Polish hand cycles are still together. I suspect they probably know each other in terms of they probably raced many times, but we do get the impression here at 25-metre gap that I think Kolosz is going to get away from Schulter. That gap has grown to 47 metres. So Kolosz is now probably going to take what points are on offer for their respective places. Now, their respective places, of course, showing 9th and 10th, but if we take out the male riders, and we believe we have the two Andres and Sebastian, don't we? So there's three male riders take out ahead of them. So they'll actually finish 6th and 7th when the official results come out. So this all brought to you by Echelon Racing, of course, and it's a superb series. It's a winter series, and Griselda Hunja just going past the rear there at the back of the. I guess she's on. So she's 2.3 kilometres ahead of Kulcha. So you can see the difference between bike riders and hand cycles. It's not to say the top hand cyclists don't do phenomenal speeds, and it absolutely amazes me what they can do. But I suspect it's one of those things where when you first start doing hand cycling, obviously you haven't been doing it since you were a child, and you have to build up that strength. But I think that people who've been doing it for a few years get there, and of course build up to tremendous arms, about as fat as my legs, and well, it's not fat, is it? It's muscle, and you know, they produce phenomenal speed. But I think the point from which you start hand cycling and get going probably takes a few years of racing to really build up that ability to compete at the front. So we have our group of four at the front, talking about at the front. Remember that we suspect that at least one of them is male. Well, we know the other three aren't, because we know who they are. And so therefore, 3 out of these 4, the race is really between everybody except the Canadian Andre Breton with the male avatar and the seemingly male first name, although one should never be too certain about these things, of course. So I'll just put in all the legal caveats that any mistakes are entirely unintentional, and nothing should be read into any misinformation, and certainly not mispronunciations, because funny enough, the Polish names, I think the number 9 there, Kolodzic, I think Kolodzic, I need to have these explained to me. In fact, this morning we went out on our West London cycling club ride. One of the Polish guys had to explain actually how to pronounce his name, which to an Anglophone, isn't it? That's the word I'm looking for. An Anglophone speaker took a little bit of explaining, but it was actually quite easy once you know. It was easy. It's just getting to know how those consonants all sort of collectively give you a sound in Polish. And, I should know better. I've lived around Polish people for most of my life. Anyway, looking at there's no Poles in this group, is there? We have Kate Alette from the USA, who's a bit of a star on the RGT racing scene. Anna Ronkainen, who we also know is a bit of a star on the RGT racing scene. They're both in here with Eva Marie Dora, and the interloper is, of course, Andre Breton. So, who do you think will win out of this lot? It's I think that's going to be a hard one to call, actually. Most of the ladies' races I've done, as they overtake the back markers, they're now quite a couple of laps in front of them now, as they overtake the 2 hand cyclists. In the races that I've commentated on, I've never had to commentate on these 3 in a sprint finish. There's 13 kilometres, there's no hills, So you can't see where the elastic's going to snap unless one of them just tires over the next 20 kilometers, and assuming they don't, so you know, we were talking about another 9 laps here. If you know, if none of them actually, shall we say, break from just fatigue of keeping up with the others, then I don't know who the best sprinter is. Interesting one. I think I don't know Eva Marie Dora, so I'm not a bit blind on that. I've watched Kate race before, and I've certainly watched Anna race before, more than once, and I think my bet might just be on Kate, but that's not, you know, with no real knowledge of what Eva Dora's sprinting ability is. So interesting. If anybody knows, I mean, I don't know if the Facebook pages are open or anything like that, or you can post comments or not. I think probably not. Maybe an Echelon one. Certainly on some of our domestic ones you can do that. But if anybody does have a favourite, and if you're watching, if you can type in on the ZMS Facebook page, I'm not sure if that will work or not. But anyway, nice to get a bit of chat going. It'd be nice to get some other opinions, wouldn't it? You have to listen to mine all the time. It's a bit of a monologue if you're not careful. Never mind that. I have to say that over this Echelon community series, that all the races that I've commented on, I didn't do yesterday's, so I don't really know how that one panned out. But all the ones I've done, the ladies' races have actually been quite fascinating. It's one of those things where it's the field isn't all that big, but some of the performances by the ladies have been, you know, phenomenal, absolutely marvellous stuff. And as I say, it's quite often the ladies' races that I go away remembering, despite the fact there's only sort of half a dozen riders in there. I bet you, when we're doing this in a year's time, for the Echelon Winter Series 22-23, I bet you there's a lot more women riders on this, because there really is, we're all perceiving, there really is this sort of realisation amongst a lot of Zwift racers that RGT is the better platform for racing. And you know, one understands. I mean, it's when one first gets a smart trainer, you know, you've heard of Zwift, you sign up and all the rest of it. But and let's face it, it has a lot of bells and whistles. But when it just comes down to pure racing, RGT is the one. And as I say, it takes a little while for people to graduate to it. And I think, I don't know how long these ladies have been racing on RGT. I think certainly Kate, running the RGT ladies group, has done that in more recent times. I'm not sure how many months. Kate will be able to tell you. But there is a bit of a movement, and there's a couple of ladies from Australia who got interested in it. And locally, I found some ladies that sort of showed a bit of interest in and are beginning to get their friends to get involved. So there is this sort of kind of shift towards RGT. And I think that when we come to watch this next time, I think we're going to have a lot more ladies in the field. A couple of guys just interloping, of course. We've got Andre Breton and Gastad, and of course the other one, the back Sebastian, from the Netherlands. So all is not as it seems. Or maybe it is as it seems, depending on how you interpret that. Nice to see Griselda Pulga, they're from Spain, nicely riding along. She's in 28 kph. I think if you're going to ride on your own, there's a point at which you just sort of sit up and say, well, you know, what do I do here? I mean, it's not, the time difference is going to make no difference. This is the points-based series as she goes through the start finishing line with a little bit of a crowd there to cheer her through. One sits up, I mean, I found myself in RGT races in absolute no man's land, and you just get to the stage where you say, well, you know, do I treat this as a training exercise, and do I, you know, absolutely belt it as if it were a time trial, or do I just kind of enjoy the race and get some fitness out of it? I think the thing to do is ride at just above a comfortable pace for as long as you can, and see what you've got left, and just tank it towards the line to see if you can just knock your time down a little bit at the end. But anyway, it's one of those things. It's certainly harder. I mean, as soon as you dropped in one of these races, your speed just goes down a little bit. If you're on the back of a peloton, see Michelle Richardson there from the USA going around in 6th place, which is probably realistically not 6th place at all. It's probably 3rd, isn't it? No, it can't be 3rd. It's probably 4th, isn't it? We've got 5th, I think. So that's interesting, because I can't see where Breton is in the placings at the moment. We shall see. Michelle Richardson there, again, like Griselda in front of her, is fighting solo. It's hard work. She overtakes one of the... that's always encouraging, isn't it? Just put some of the camera bots in there, and you get to overtake them, and you've got that feeling as if you're making some progress. But as I say, I've been where Michelle is now, and you're just on your own, and you just get the most out of the ride. You can either take that mindset, well, hang on, this is a good training ride, or I'm actually going to carry this on and see what points I get, and make sure that I do well in the series, or as well as I can. And as I say, I think everybody I know finishes the race. They don't sort of look at it and drop out. Was there a little bit of a gap on that? No, Kate Ouellette just teasing them, dangling off the back, and then making her presence known again as she just rides alongside Eva Marie Dora from Germany, Deutschland. Go around another bend. This crit has got some very, very tight bends. We're over halfway for the leaders now, and it's not changed, has it? I mean, all right, we did have a group of 5. I think Andre Breton has dropped out of the race because he's not on there, is he? So that's one. I don't know if he's been pulled by some organiser or other, but he's certainly not around. And I think we can't see Sebastian Marino is still there, and yes, the other pole's gone. So we're down to 8 riders, aren't we? So 2 of the men have disappeared. I mean, who knows? Maybe they enter and they're just there to. Which wouldn't be a very credible thing to do, but you could put a male in there just to sort of pace you, couldn't you? I mean, if you've got your friend along, just to enter the race, and I'll sit on your wheel till lap 10 or something, and then you can just disappear, having given me a bit of a tow. I hope that sort of thing's not going on. There has been a debate of late amongst RGT event organisers, of which I'm one, about combating. I mean, this is part of the trouble with people coming over from Zwift. RGT's got a very, I think, decent community, and I think that the couple of riders there that never got off the start. This does happen. You get technicals, and some, there's always a couple of people who just don't seem to get off the start. I'm never quite sure whether it's their internet connection or not, because we never find out, but so be it. Another one of those tight bends there. As I was saying, there has been big discussion amongst the RGT event organisers, of which I am one, about how we look at odd results in races. I mean, if I'm honest, the discussion, and I'm not going to go into what was discussed, partly because I haven't read every bit of it actually, but it is about the male races, and people coming in and getting ridiculous results compared to their history, and how we monitor that. So there is a discussion going on, and I think it will eventually need some sort of policing, unfortunately. But it is one of those things where some of the people who are producing these odd results are newer to the community, because I think the RGT community has been a very, very decent bunch in my experience in the couple of years that I've been involved with it. And as I say, I think it's more realistic racing, and I think you get a very, very decent, nice, friendly crowd. Some of the banter at some of the races is absolutely superb, as the leaders once again overtake one of the hand cyclists. I think it's absolutely marvellous of RGT to produce these hand cyclist avatars. I give that one big thumbs up. Anybody that can help out is brilliant. In fact, about helping out, we've got a blind lady in our cycling club today, and someone brings her out on a tandem for the club rides, and one of the other guys has volunteered to learn how to pilot the tandem, and it was rather more difficult than he actually thought, but he's going to persevere with it. And I spent quite a lot of the morning actually absolutely commending him for being willing to volunteer and take a blind rider out on a tandem. Absolutely great stuff, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that the Echelon series has his hand cycling and paracycling as well. More to come at 5 o'clock. Remember, this is a double bill here, so you got me for hours. This is just the women's race. Afterwards, we've got a hand, para, and men's races at 5 p.m. UK time. You'll have to translate that if you're living in the United States or anywhere else, actually. But so basically, it'll be late afternoon for us here in Northern Europe, and it will be sometime in the morning, certainly for the people on the East Coast, well, in fact, even earlier in the morning for people on the West Coast of the United States and Canada, of course. And anywhere else you're racing from, remember that RGT is actually one of the, it's global, isn't it? I mean, I marvel at some of the races, some of the entrants I get to my own races, because I go through after the race and put everybody's nationality next to their name, and as you can see with RGT, you get these little flags, and every so often I get some flag that I really don't recognise. I have to go away and look up on the internet before I can insert it. So I think one guy actually put Antarctica or something once, and I'm not at all convinced that this guy was based in Antarctica. You never know, of course, but it took me quite a while to find out what that flag was, but there we are. Might not be in Antarctica. There are certainly some odd ones anyway. They go through again, only 13 kilometres to go, so we're down to about the last 4 laps here, and these three are looking like they're going to stick together. I think if you got this far, certainly on a flat course, there's no reason to be dropped other than getting something wrong on a bend. And if you did get one of those bends wrong, and look, Anna Ronkanen's just giving it a little bit of a push. It's got 4 meters. They're not letting you do that. I don't think anybody's going to get away with that unless somebody behind them is on their last legs and just clinging on. And you also notice here, Kate Ouellette and even Marie Dora, they take little turns on the front, so I don't get the impression that anybody's just hanging on, to see what they can do at the sprint, or just hanging on, in hope that something else happens. But I think these are 3 strong riders. But I think one of those bends, you could just get that sort of situation where you go around one of those bends, you coming out in the wrong gear, the other 2 absolutely tank it off the bend, and you're suddenly 10 meters behind. Now, these 3 are top riders. They've probably got what it takes to make up a 10-meter gap. But if you don't make up that 10-meter gap soon, you start tiring. I mean, I found myself in those positions where it's not quite the same thing, but I've certainly got to the top of the hill and almost sort of like side with the relief that I'm on top of the hill, and everybody's just attacked off the top of it. And by the time I realised, I've just lost 10-15 metres, and then I put a lot of effort into trying to catch up. And the thing is, the amount of effort you put into catching up, the next problem you've got is that if you do catch up and somebody on the front decides to give it a bit of a push and the whole group goes with them, you're now chasing again, and you've just exhausted yourself. If you've just done a big chase and got on the back on the group, you want a few minutes just to get your strength back, and you don't always get it. So as I say, one of those corners, I mean, maybe in the last, just watch out for that one, because I'm like, Anna Ronkanen's actually pulled out a gap there, 20 meters. 22 is holding, isn't it? I mean, she's a strong rider. I mean, the races I've seen her in, she certainly can do this and get out solo. As I say, I've never actually had to sort of see Kate and Maria back. They're not going to let you do that. And now the dilemma becomes, if they're not going to let you do that, and they're always going to catch up then is it worth it? Because the amount of energy you're spending going out solo, assuming the other two work to pull you back, it's twice as much as either of them. So let's say you put out 20 meters, but then they have to chase for 20 meters and they do 10 each. They've done less work than you. So what do you do? If you think you can't shake them off, then it's probably not worth it. These ladies will have raced together before and probably know who's the best sprinter amongst them, which I'm afraid your commentator doesn't, because I've never had to commentate on them sprinting against each other, even though I have commentated on them racing before. Now, as I say, the other thing to watch out for is that last lap. I think if you feel that you can pull out, what you're going to do is go around. You can get around in one of those 90-degree bends first and absolutely put the throttle down as you exit the bend. I think you could pull yourself out 10-20 meters. That might be what some of them have got in mind for that last lap. So it's all about these three. This is going to be yet another exciting ladies race. We've been privileged to cover this, and thank you very much, Echelon, for putting on the whole series. Remember, every other weekend over these winter months, so it's the professional races on the other weekends and the community races this weekend. So you had one yesterday and you've had one today. I say one, there's 5 races. This is a festival of V-racing on RGT, isn't it? Absolutely. You're spoilt with this, and thanks very much to ZMS, the Next Level Streams, who bring you this courtesy of Damon Bates, who is the mastermind behind all this, and he's the man pressing the buttons and being creative while I waffle, and we have a lot of fun doing it, actually, don't we, Damon? So thank you very much for being with us as well. It's not the same without the community, and of course this is the Racing Community Series, brought to you by Echelon. And as I say, we've been very privileged with this, because the ladies' races, despite the numbers, have been absolutely fantastic. We've been privileged. Absolute pleasure. So, my money, I think, is going with Kate Ouellette to win this one, which might be foolish, I don't know. See, Dora just gets that middle line quite nicely. It depends how you set your bike up as well. So it's now Anna pushes out her nose in front a little bit there, and you wonder if she's going to put the throttle down and see if they respond. But she either decides not to, or they're on a very small gradient now, at 0.3%, and they're hitting. Well, they were a moment ago hitting 40 kph. They're sitting around 36. Which certainly I think is quite a decent speed. I know it's probably about what I think I can do on these courses, but I'm not sure how you factor in the actual distance. So for example, this is a 33k race. I'll probably be a little bit slower than that if I am honest. So I think these ladies would be capable of beating me, and rightly so. I think they're probably younger, fitter and better. There's no getting away from those cold facts, is there? I can only dream of winning in one of these races. I think I did one race on RGT. No, I think I won 2 actually, and one was actually, there was only 2 races, and the other guy never got. He got to Canicle on the start line and didn't actually finish. So I just had to go up the hill. It was a hill climb, and I just had to go up the hill on my own, which is probably one of the more pleasurable hill climbs I've ever done. So looking at the 2 poles at the back, it's still working away there, but that's a done deal, isn't it? The order is, as I think now, set in stone for the 2 hand cyclists at the back. We get Schuler there in 8th place, and yes, I'm going to have to try and pronounce this again. Kolodzic, I think. Kolodzic. I'll try that. I'm probably going to get some sort of complaint. I heard this. One of these stories that you can understand that went to a talk by one of the television commentators, cycling television commentators that's known across Europe, certainly for Anglophones, and he was saying that because he was involved with cycling across Europe, he was asked to present something at one of the openings of a grand. I don't know. It was some civic event for some town that was hosting the start of either a stage or I don't think it was the Grand Depart because it was a French town. And even though he's a French speaker, just got one of those little sort of nuanced things wrong and said the completely wrong thing. And there were there's 1,000 or so people in this audience watching him sort of doing this opening ceremony and, you know, praising the town councillors for putting on this wonderful bike race in these citizens' towns, and then just sort of slightly mispronounced one of the words, which had a rather unfortunate meaning by all accounts. And he was saying that whenever he visits that town, that's what everybody reminds him of, is just this mispronunciation. So I hope when I struggle with names that are not natural to my English speaking tongue, then I get them right. I think I can cope with the French names and English names, but Polish, and I should know better. I know a lot of Polish people always have done. Should know better. There we are. Anna Ronkainen, I'm less worried about pronouncing her name. Eva Marie Dora, again, I might be wrong, but I think German's not far from. Certainly, there's roots of Germanic language in the English language. English is, of course, actually a bit of a fusion between German and French, which may not be amazingly obvious at the outset, but it was a Germanic language originally, brought over by the Angles and the Saxons, who were Germanic tribes. And in 1066, when the Norman invasion happened and some French speakers started running the country, a lot of French words slipped into everyday usage in England. And I think this is, when I say England, I am cognizant of the fact that at that time Scotland and England and I'm not sure about Wales, but certainly Ireland weren't connected. So as I say, I think for many years the aristocracy spoke French and everybody else spoke English, but the French words got into the English language, and we are left with a language as a mix of French and German. Meanwhile, Anna Ronkainen, who's Finnish, is nearer the finish than her two rivals. Now, she's been nudging away trying to do this for quite a long time. This one, will it stick or won't it? I think they're making up a little bit of ground. I mean, Kate Alette, they're definitely making up some ground. And I think they made up some ground on that corner. I don't think Anna got out of that corner as quick as Kate did. So, yeah, my theory might hold water here. Just remember where you heard it first, if you didn't already know. I think they're catching Anna. Not sure if Eva Marie's going to help Kate do that. Be interesting now, with only just under 7k to go, to see how much of this goes on, because if it does, the secondary question is, like, is Anna going to keep pushing like this off the front and testing the other two? And if she does, who's going to do all the work pulling her back? Because that was all Kate Ouellette, wasn't it? And if Eva Marie's sitting on Kate's wheel, there's one of two things going on there. She's either saving herself to outwit those two on the sprint, or she's hanging on and hasn't got a lot left. And we won't know which, I think, until the last lap, because having watched a lot of these crit races over my time involved with RGT racing, I think that it all tells in that last lap. The ones who've got something left will give it that push and test everybody else. Everybody knows whether they feel like a sprint or they don't. There are people who will go with, perhaps a whole lap of a crit to go, knowing that they're not going to win a sprint, but you know what, if they gap everybody else, they might survive. In my experience, you don't tend to win from going out a kilometre from the end. I think your sprints need to be later than that. And that's probably pretty similar to professional bike racing. It does sometimes happen. Of course, if you're watching professional bike racing, quite often, somebody goes off the front and all the others don't want to chase because they'll chase and somebody will sit on their wheel and then pick them, so they don't want to take somebody else up to the line. And sometimes you do get away with going with a kilometre to go in professional racing. I don't think that really works in RGT because everybody's riding sort of reasonably solo, and there's usually a pack. It's not quite as easy to sort of sit on somebody's wheel in quite the way you do in a real life bike. And you can do it, of course, but it's just not as, there's a little bit more finesse needed to do it in e-racing. So I think if you do that, what actually happens is that somebody who chases will probably get a 5 meter gap on the next person anyway, and so that this whole sort of sitting on somebody's wheel and just nipping around them on the line isn't quite as easy. So I think you need to sort of sit there. As I say, in professional racing, you might go with a kilometre to go and see if everybody else looks at each other, hoping that somebody else will do the chase, by which time you're just gaining ground. On RGT, I don't think that happens. If you go with a kilometre to go, people might not actually chase you straight away, but they'll let you burn for 300 metres before they bother starting to reel you in. That's my general experience, and of course there are always, without doubt, exceptions to the rule, so that doesn't always happen. So we're getting down to where we're at now. It's 5 kilometres to go, so a couple of laps for the ladies, and they are of course starting off on what must be the penultimate lap, I guess. You can see down the bottom, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that the green blob along the bottom of your screen is actually the profile, and it's fairly flat across the top, so that's telling you that the course is very, very flat. The blue bits are actually downhill, and the orangey bits are actually ascents, so there are some undulations in there, but honestly, with the speeds they're going, you should be able to just spin over those without too much trouble. Shula is in 8th position, and I think we're assuming that the only interloper that's going to get disqualified is number 4, Denio Moreno, who we believe is Sebastian Denio Moreno, and is probably a male. So, and Damon's going to make me try and have another Blodshish. I think we can all expect Damon to keep showing this guy, just so I struggle over pronouncing his name. I will. If I come back and I'll say his name, it's a her, isn't it? Sorry, I'll beg your pardon. It's I don't know what I was thinking. Too busy concentrating on the pronunciation, I think. Sorry, Blodshish, pronouncing your name and actually getting your sex wrong for momentarily. Very, very slack of me. So here we have Sebastian Denio Moreno, who we weren't covering because we think it's a male who shouldn't be in the race, and is now picture bombed, doesn't he? He's screen bombed here. Look, you can definitely see a male avatar there. He's screen bombed picture. Back to Griselda, Pulga from Spain, and she's got very colourful wheels, hasn't she? Reminds me if anybody's, I don't know if you have them across all the countries. We've got a thing in the UK called the Dunwich Dynamo. You probably now pronounce that Dunwich if you're American, but Dunwich Dynamo, and it's a night ride from London out to the coast, and it's absolutely amazing. Thousands of people just turn up and do it. It's not officially organised, so you won't find websites, and you might find websites to talk about it, but there's no official website because it's just a thing that everybody does one Saturday in July, and you get sort of maybe 6,000 or 8,000 cyclists turn up, and quite a few of them put lights. It's almost like Christmas decorations all over their bikes, and especially on the wheels like that where you can make them spin. And certainly this year when I did it, I was sort of talking to a guy And he was telling me how much trouble he'd gone to get all these lights fixed on his wheel and everything else like that. So it's quite a lot of effort. So do congratulate them if you see one, if you're on one of those rides. I'd be interested to know if there are other rides like that in the world. I'm sure the Dunwich Dynamo isn't the only one, but it is an absolutely amazing event. And if you are a UK cyclist, you should actually do it at least once in your cycling career, because it is phenomenal. All along, as I say, it starts about 8 o'clock at night, so you just ride in the dark overnight. But there are all sorts of pop-up little cafes and places the whole way, and the pubs are open and people are stopping, and it's like a carnival atmosphere. Absolutely brilliant. So look out for that. If you're not British, actually, it's one of those things you should dig out and find out a little bit about, and try and do it one time. It's, as I say, well worth it. So Eva Marie Dora is the current incumbent of that first place, as Kate and Anna sit on her wheel, which is 2.8 kilometres to go. This is the point where they probably start looking at each other. Interestingly, they're only doing sort of 30 kph. They were doing 36 before, but they are on this little 1.1% rise at the beginning of each lap. As I say, we are in the last lap, so this is where it's all going to get very interesting. Anna, Kate, or Eva Marie. So I'm going to, as I say, I've gone with Kate, and I might be misinformed because I've not actually seen them head to head. But as I say, I'm going to go with Kate on this one. But they're all sitting there. It's only plus 0.7, and they're sitting there at 30. I don't think anybody's absolutely going to pile on the pressure by the looks of things. Now, remember all my theories. Could you make one of those bends work for you? Could you pull out a little gap? Do you want that gap at 2.3 kilometres, or would you wait for a later one? What would you do? I think my legs would be telling me what I can and can't do. Certainly, not being a sprinter, I would try and gap someone. But that's, you know, as I say, I'm not a sprinter, so what I would do is not. No, here we have one of those corners. They all got round it together, so nothing splintered there. Two just pushing off the front there. Maybe Kate was just caught a little bit napping, but she's put it on, and the speed just whacks up to 37. I think the other two got a sniff that Kate might have just been momentarily dropped, piled it onto 37, and look, they're back down to 31. So my corner theory might have been in play there. It's down at 27 now, although again 2.3 gradient, 2.3% gradient. They run there. Oh, Anna's gone for it. She has gone for it. 1.8. Kate's responded. There was a little bit of a delay in the response. Eva Marie Dora now, and there's another corner. Will that affect them? Kate now is on the check. Kate's going to make it back. Will Eva Marie Dora? She's being slightly distanced by Kate at the moment, but it's not all over. There's still 1.6 kilometres to go in this race. But Eva Marie the gap is growing a little bit. She's down to 30 metres. She might not be able to make that up. But Kate's still got 10 metres in Anna. Anna has put the throttle down even more. Anna is absolutely going for it, but Kate has not given up. With 1.4 kilometres to go, Anna's going to have to work very, very hard for a long time to make this pay. But the distance between her and Kate is growing. It's down to 22 metres now. This is probably the decisive moment. So Anna is looking like the winner. But with 1.2 kilometres to go, she may not be able to sustain this. But Kate is now going to get caught by Eva. And maybe actually Kate's just realised that that's not... that's nearly 50 metres to Anna. I think she's got this now. Unless the other two can work together or something, I think Anna is absolutely going to smash it home now. She's inside the last kilometre. This is Anna's race to lose now. It's up to 90 metres back to Kate. Kate and Eva Marie are going to have to duke it out in a second place sprint. Anna has performed superbly. I had my money on Kate, but I was absolutely wrong. And now I know. So next time you hear me commentating on these two, I will be putting my money on Anna based on this evidence. Absolutely superb. I know she's a fantastic rider. There's no doubt about that. I've seen her ride before. She rode one of my races the other day and was up there in the peloton with the guys. She didn't win the sprint, but and it was a big peloton, so her place belies just how close she was. She's absolutely phenomenal in that race. and I've seen her race on these Echelon series as well, where she's again phenomenal. Today she has proved that she's phenomenal without any doubt whatsoever. 300 meters to go, just going around the last bend at 33 kph. She doesn't need to hammer it now. She's done the damage on the other two. The other two, though, have it all to go work at. They have to work out how they're going to. Let's see, Anna can see the finishing line now. 140 meters to go. An absolutely exemplary victory. You cannot take it away from this girl. She has been the star of the race. She knew when to attack. Kate Ouellette fought very, very hard to pull her back and might have just actually given herself a little bit too much effort, but no, Kate's pulling away from even now as they come up to the finishing line. 125 meters. No, Kate's still got some left. She is going to take second place. She didn't quite make the catch up to Anna, but she was emphatic in the sprint. Eva Marie taking third place. Absolutely superb, ladies. Well done, each and every one of you. The race isn't over. We have Griselda Pulga still to come. She's got 4.5 kilometers to go, so a couple of laps still for Griselda. We've got Michelle Richardson at 700 meters behind her, of course. And then we've got the two Polish hand cycle riders as Griselda goes around that very, very tight bend that we've been talking about throughout the race. Well, wasn't that a fantastic finish? And you have to hand it to Anna Ronkainen from Finland. She put the hammer down, and Kate Ouellette was not having any of it, but in the end Anna just had enough to hold her off and pull off an absolutely smashing victory. So we're actually about to go to the men's race very, very shortly. So it's probably not going to be possible to see everybody finish in this race. So let's see. There's quite a few men on the start line there, as you can see in the centre of your screen, and we've still got the women's race up in the top left-hand corner. Of course, we've got men's A and men's B. You can see decent-sized pelotons for both in there. We've got 1 minute for just under 2 minutes before the start. In fact, the hand cycling looks like it's a start. Am I misreading that? Yes, it's the same. Ignore me. Hand cycling, paracycling. The hand cycling seems to have a decent amount of entries, doesn't it? I think it's 4 of them, maybe 5 in there. Paracycling, just a few riders, and we start seeing the results for the women's there as we're looking at the lineup in the men's A race there. Just picking out some of the names. Mike Swart I see in there. Jaeger. These are riders that you would expect to see in these sorts of races. Roget and Norman, it's not one I don't know. Noonan, I don't actually. I have seen Noonan race before. Sorry. So I'm not sure who else is in there. It's certainly Mike Swart is an RGT man. 49 seconds before the start. The women's, we've got the first 3 up there. We know that Griselda, unless she has a Tacanical, is going to finish 5th, and then the 2 poles are. Oh no, Michelle Richardson, and then the 2 poles. So we're down to the last 30 odd seconds. Is Griselda still got 3 kilometers to go, so over a lap to go for the Spaniard, and she's about to lap Kolosic, and maybe that's the last time I'll have to pronounce Kolosic's name. It's not easy, this commentary lark, you know. It's I'm sure actually the professional commentators all given elocution lessons and explained how to pronounce the names. Right, 3, 2, 1, they're off. This is the start of the other 3 races. So same thing, they've got 34 kilometres for the men's A and B's, and 22 kilometres for the hand cycling and the paracycling. So about 10 laps in the paracycling and hand cycling, and 15 also in the men's A and B. And if we get anything like the excitement we've just had in the ladies' race, this is going to be a happy afternoon, isn't it? So sit back and enjoy the racing. 4 lots of it. Look at that. 4 lots of racing at once. But this is what they call multitasking, and being a man, I'm not supposed to be any good at that, am I? So let's see, which screen shall I pick? Let's have a look at the men's A, which looks like a big peloton at the front. And who we got in there? Bouchard from the United States. I think this will be one of those races. Again, I see Ned Bowen's in there from Chicago. I think this is probably one of those races where what's going to happen is there'll be certain points where somebody on the front puts the power down, the pack chases, and a couple of people get dropped off the peloton, and then it all simmers down, knowing that you've sort of, cut the numbers in the peloton, and then it'll happen again. And again, I think the corners might be decisive, because you get caught out on one of those corners in a peloton like this, where the guy in the front is absolutely racing away. Then, as we see, the Rocket Factory, Lembardius, he's just ahead of Noonan, and Noonan's just taking it. And this is what I think sometimes happens with these races. The Moon Riders race just going off the front now, Usborne, and that peloton's not huge. I mean, we've got 18 riders online in the mains only race here. Most of them would seem to be in the peloton based on that. In fact, they are. Oh, it's one off the front now. It's Langley. It's Longley, sorry. I don't think they'll let him stay out there. 3 Canadians in the first 3 places. Mike Lister in 4th from V Cycling News. And Ned Bowen from Chicago in there, I see. And just trying to pick out other people I personally know. But no, most of the others are riders I've heard of, but not necessarily I know personally. So, I can't give you as much background as I'd love to on some of these guys. It's lap 1 just at the end now, so we've got another 14 or so to go at this, and I think this peloton will hold together, but as I say, I've got a feeling that there'll be some pressure points where somebody gets dropped off the back, and if somebody is dropped off the back as they finish lap 1, at a point where you get a corner and the person accelerates and the front accelerates out of the corner, stretching it out, there is the danger that a couple of people get dropped off the back of the peloton. And I suspect, I mean, if you look at the speed, interestingly, I mean, we're on minus 1.5 here. The speed is 40 kph. Nice little wave from Mike Lister. Thanks, Mike. Nice to get your wave. As I say, I think it's it's probably going to be these little, somebody's attacking off the front. I don't think anybody attacking off the front really thinks they're going to get away. I think what it does is just stretch it out and make, thin out the peloton. You can see, it stretches like a bit of elastic there, doesn't it? And if you're on the back of that big bunch and you're in the wrong gear, this could be a decisive moment for you. We shall see. Still got 18 riders online. Nobody seems to have pulled out with a mechanical or anything like that. So there's nothing good. Let's have a look there. A decent turnout of. Obviously, we've got a Greek rider in there. That's going to be another one. Nice. Plantheus and Chang from. I do know that flag, and I can't think what it is. A lot of United States riders in there, but rightly so. I mean, this is an American-based race series, so why wouldn't there be? And of course, it probably suits your time zone. Actually, I have to compliment Echelon. I think the way they set this up is absolutely superb, because 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK, and that'll be 5 o'clock in continental Europe. It's quite a convenient time. You might have been out for your club ride this morning, or gone out and done the week shopping, or had Sunday lunch or something like that. And you can come back and do your cycle ride at 4. But if you take the time difference, it's probably late morning for people in New York and the East Coast. It's probably a bit earlier in the morning for people on the West Coast in the United States. And they're all times that don't mess up your whole day, because Sunday morning is assuming you're not a religious person, Sunday morning is when you go out cycling for a lot of us, isn't it? I mean, the Sunday ride is a bit of a tradition. As I say, it probably doesn't suit you if you're a devout Christian of some sort, but for those who aren't, it's Sunday morning is cycling time. So yeah, I mean, it kind of works out quite nicely that we're all awake, and it's probably not right in that part of the day that messes up the whole day. Let's have a look at the hand cyclists, shall we? See what we have going on here. So we're going diagonally across your screen down to the bottom right hand corner. 3 hand cyclists there. Now we have 4 in the race, so 1 has been dropped, and that is Costa, who's a kilometre behind these 3. But this is good. I mean, if the 3 can stay together, then we have ourselves a bit of a race, haven't we? So we've got Koeman from the Netherlands. Well, he would be, wasn't they? Famous, was it Ronald Koeman, the famous Dutch footballer in the past? And we have Andre from Deutschland, and the American Parker. So looking at these 2, I don't know if the 2 in the blue jerseys are racing for the same team, but they have very, very similar kit on, which tends to suggest they probably are. I don't know which team that is, I'm afraid, but it is possible to make up the teams from different countries, of course, in e-racing, and this happens. I mean, certainly we saw a Moon Riders jersey a little bit earlier. I know that Moon Riders, for a fact, were formed up because a couple of people said, well, let's race as a team in whatever event, as we look at Costa from the United States coasting around that bend. And yeah, Moon Riders, they a few got together and raced as a team, and then they got a few more people and so on and so forth. One of the most successful has been OTR, who have got a phenomenal amount of riders signed up to the club. And the EKCD, the Cycling Club of Denmark, CKD, sorry, I've got the wrong way around, ECKD, the E-Cycling Club of Denmark. Again, they've pulled a load of people together, they're putting together out teams, racing on RGT, and it's fantastic. But as I say, Racing Club of Denmark probably aren't quite as great an example, because you look at teams like Moon Riders, Ratio Racing, and the like, they've got riders from all over the place, different countries and everything, all just signed up to an e-racing team, which, for us amateur riders, you wouldn't normally do. You sign up to a team local to where you live, but here we have truly international teams. So it's, the chances are that Koeman and Parker probably are in the same team, because they've got the same kit on. Although don't take it for granted. Plenty of kits to choose from on RGT. When you go into your setup, you can pick a jersey, and not everybody can have their own jersey, but there's such a variety on there that cycling clubs are picking ones that are closest to theirs. So for example, on my races, the West London VR races here on RGT, brought to you by ZMS as well. I got a couple of the local clubs around where I live to get involved and put in teams, Watford Velo and Twickenham Cycling Club, and they both went through the catalogue of kits you could choose, picked out the one that was closest to theirs, and actually it's great for commentators, because when I see those jerseys I know it's a Watford Velo rider or a Twickenham Cycling Club rider, because I know what jerseys they wear. So it is great. So we have a look in the Zoom room, and we've got Austin Parker, Sander Koeman and Paul Kilcore, all hand cyclists at the top. Mike Lister not commentating today. Ned Bowen. Ned Bowen's just got one of those poker faces. He always does, doesn't he? And it's anyway. And Mr. Helps. Oh, hello, Mike. You're obviously listening to the commentary, aren't you? So yeah, good to see you. I hope it's nice and sunny down there in Devon and Torquay. And we have M. Heffelstein in the bottom right. Yeah, so I think the thumbs up from Mike there suggests that it probably is a sunny day down in Devon. We had great big mist here in London, and we went out for a bike ride, and as soon as we finished the sun came out, a bit like on the graphics here on on the race, and it's beautifully sunny, isn't it? I mean, certainly for my races. By the way, Mike's got some races that are going to intervene with mine. I say intervene with mine. That is wrong. Intertwine with mine, I think is the right word. So I do mine every other Wednesday, and Mike's going to fill the gaps and do the other Wednesday. So look out for Mike's races coming up. Now, as I say, I don't know which scenery Mike's going to pick. He might want to contrast me, but this is the sunny scenery. I picked the grim one because all my races are based in West London. So, Mike's going to go for the sunny scenery. Mike's taking you around the world, and I think a lot of his races are crit races in the USA. So probably more sunny than mine. So I've got the realistic grey days for the scenery on my races. So you can pick your Wednesdays, sunny Mike's or grim Dave's. Anyway, look forward to that, and good luck with those, Mike. So look at Paul Giggle is always pretty decent about this. He always puts himself on screen in the Zoom room as well. Austin Parker there, slightly out of view, but we can just see that whiz and blur of his arms going round, churning the old chain there and the pedals. Absolutely great stuff. And Ned Bowen, looking like Ned Bowen always does, cool, calm and collected, probably waiting for a sprint if I know Ned. Good luck to everybody. So here we have the this is Kilgore and Rainey, first and second in a race of two, but the great thing is they are together, so we might just have ourselves another fantastic sprint. I look forward to that if we do. We're just putting away a couple of meters there. I don't think that's anything to get excited about right now, although it's just drifted out to 7, so might keep an eye on that one. Actually, it does look like it's drifting again, doesn't it? Right, to the men's A, Jaeger has pulled out 95 metres while we've been busy admiring all our hand cyclists and advertising Mike Lister's event. So that is quite good. Now, with 24 kilometres to go, I think that's quite adventurous, and I am dubious as to whether that can work. Jaeger knows, Yaden Jaeger, Yaden will know how he feels, what he's got going. As I say, look, it looks like Osborne and Rocco are just beginning to, I mean, it's difficult when somebody pulls off the front of the peloton. You know, peloton doesn't always let them get away, but I think Osborne and Bouchard are just probably edging away from the rest of the peloton, which we'll see. They've certainly strung it out, haven't they? This is the effect I usually talk about, that, you know, you put some pressure on the front, you string it out, and somebody will get dropped off the peloton. We've only got 17 riders online, so somebody has fallen through. Matt Osborne in that Moon Riders jersey is a little bit off the front of the others. Kevin Bouchard, Hal here, got a few behind him. I think this is probably going to break this race up, isn't it? I think this group, I mean, I think it's interesting. The group behind are not, they're fighting to get back on. We certainly haven't got 17 riders, even if this does form itself into a group. I don't think we've got 17 riders away at the front. Rocker is there as well. This is doing damage. I mean, people are not. I mean, Jaeger's leads down to 87 metres. I mean, they're not hauling it back wholesale. You know, it's a little bit piecemeal, and they're taking turns on the front, and rightly so. As Yaden Jaeger next guy on the front, I think it's. I don't know whether, if you're in this group, what you really want to do is pull back Jaeger, or you want to drop some people out of the group, because in some ways, if the group have all got it, then working together should actually enable you to catch Jaeger, because the group effect is going to work. But look, that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 8 riders in that group now, and we know we've got Bouchard out the front, so we've probably lost 6 or 7 riders off the back. And if we look, Nick Bowen's off the back, minus 1.2. That's actually, I am fascinated by that. Ned's a good rider. I think something is amiss. Mike Lister there is in 6th place, 8th place, and has got himself in that little pack. He's going to have to work hard to rightly staying on Kranus's wheels, but Usborne, there's a little gap to Usborne there. These two need to work and get back on that group. Another one of these bends, they make you brake. Will it affect anybody? If you come out in the wrong gear, this can be a bit of a slog getting yourself back on, and there are gaps here. This is probably the decisive moment in this race. There are 22 kilometres. Look how strung out that is. That is quite strung out there. This little trio here, Mushwalk, Mike Lister, they hopefully can work together and pull themselves back on here, but Blodgett now at 7th, still gapped 12 metres back to Verne, the Jay Verne. You'd love that to be Jules Verne, wouldn't you? Oh dear. I mean, the amount of jokes you could have. Around the world in 80 days? Around the crit in 80 laps. Oh dear. Let's forget about Jules Verne, shall we? Yaden now is being caught, but at what damage to the peloton? So, you know, whether Yaden Yeager sees this as a success or not will depend on what he was doing it for. If he wanted to shake off half the peloton, he succeeded. If he wanted to get out clear on his own, he's failed. But I would treat that as a success. And again, we get to see he's got the same kit on as the rider who's just gone past him, Kevin Bouchard-Howell. I assume they're riding for the same team. As we have Verne, the Canadian. I just want his first name to be Jules. Oh, I really do. Sorry. I can do with Passepartout jokes and things like that. So we're down to a select bunch of 7 riders. How about the men's B? What have we got going on in the men's B race? Let's see. Slightly bigger peloton at the front by the looks of things. We've got about a dozen riders in there in the men's B race, so not as decisive as what we've just seen in the men's A race. It's a much bigger race as well. I mean, you can see there's 40 riders online. It's dropped a little bit, so somebody somewhere's had a mechanical or given up. And the fact that these dozen have got away means there's sort of 30 riders split behind them. Now let's look at the bottom of the screen there. The big blob is this first group. The big blob, this is the white blobs that are moving along the profile of the course at the bottom. The big blob, of course, is the group you're watching, or the rider you're watching. And you can see there's lots of other groups strung out there. So the pace they're doing, and you can see here 41 kph, that's faster than we've been generally seeing. And that's 40 kph on a slight gradient. It's only 1%. To my mind, that probably suggests it's the peloton effect. They're all working well as a peloton. But as you see, every time somebody goes off the front like this, it does damage and just thins and thins the peloton. So who we got at the moment? We've got Mondelli for Canada is at the front, still with him, but the Slovenian just taking at Furler. It's just taken a little bit of the lead to be taken over by a few American riders in the form of Still, Klescher and others. Furlan in the purple jersey riding the Slovenian flag there. It's quite interesting that some people have flags for where they live rather than what their nationality is, so it's not always clear. Nathan Kleshner is the rider we're looking at there. Yeah, so the flags don't always represent the country somebody ethnically and originally comes from. Quite often they're where they live, although I believe you can change them. I've certainly I know riders that live around the corner from me with flags from far-flung places, and equally I'm well aware of British riders who moved abroad who carry the flag of where they now live, so it's a choice to be made, whatever you feel emotionally tied to. And Ned Bowen looking calm, but there is a decisive gap and he's not amongst the front runners, so Ned's famous sprint is not going to be employed today, certainly not in winning form, but he might, of course, Ned being Ned, win his own personal sprint with the little group that he's in. So this crit race is let's have a look at the hand cycling again. They were together. Let's see what's going on with them now. Well, actually, we've got a little bit of a gap, haven't we? Parker is now way behind the others, and there is something like 100, well, not quite 100 metres, about 80 metre gap between the front two. So we are going to see, I think this will probably now stay where it is. We're halfway through the race in the hand cycling, and a gap of 80 metres, as long as nothing goes wrong, is probably maintainable. So we can expect Koeman, Sander Koeman there, to win this race from Andre, the German, I suspect. And Mr. Parker is looking like he's going to be third, Coaster fourth, and Zed Nelson, who we haven't mentioned yet, is 10 kilometres behind. Interesting, if you look at the outputs here, number one, Koeman, is putting out 2.2 watts per kilogram. Now it's over 2 watts per kilogram for Andre as well, so they're putting out similar power here. Well, not necessarily, because this is watts per kilogram, not actual watts, but so this is comparative to their weight. So in other words, if it's you know, the kilograms weight and then the amount of watts you're putting out, if it's double, it's comparable. So if you're a big person, you're putting out double, you're putting out more watts than a lighter person. However, of course, RGT does factor in weight and things like that, so I don't know how the algorithms work, but it's all relative. But looking down there, you can see that that is sort of 2.5 for the front two. It drops down to 1.3 for third and fourth place, and Zed Nelson at the bottom there, 0.9. A huge difference, but like I said, it's one has to be aware that, you know, we didn't grow up riding hand cycles as kids and develop these muscles through our early life necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule, but a lot of these guys would have found themselves doing hand cycling, something that they took up when they were adults. And, you know, as I say, it takes a year or so, I would imagine, to build up the strength to be highly competitive at the front. But certainly our front two runners would seem to have that competitiveness. I mean, it's not a huge gap between them. So we shall see how that pans out. So let's take a look at the paracycling and see what we've got on that. Nice to see the two of them still together, so we know we've got a race on. They're over halfway, and I think that suggests, unless Kilgore and Berigny, if either one of those has got something planned at some point in this race, other than that, I think we might just see this one do the distance. We haven't been following this closely enough to see who's doing all the work on the front, but since we have been watching, it's been all Kilgore, hasn't it? So I don't know if Berigny is just going to sit on his wheel and take the win at the line. Who knows? Who knows? You can't really get inside their heads and find out, can you? Maybe he has done his turns on the front. Who knows? It's just we can't watch it all four screens at the time. But we do bring you a festival of cycling, because you get 4 races at once, and of course that rather exciting ladies race we had just before this. It really is the place to be here on a Sunday afternoon, watching the Echelon Community Series, brought to you by ZMS, of course. So let's have a look at the men's A's and see if they've knocked anybody out of their little peloton, their little club at the beginning. No, 7 riders. Oh my goodness, the 3 riders off the front are well clear now, aren't they? So actually, it's this is really splintered, hasn't it? Little group of 4 there, going back to 4, 5, 6, and 7th. So that was the remnants of the front group. They're no longer in it. And so that means, so Mike Lister snugly in there with Noonan and Mike Schwartz, and an RGT man through and through, and Krzysztof from Poland, the other rider making up the 4. So Vern is further up, as we'd expect. Looking back at 12th, Gavelis is now 700 metres behind Mike Schwartz in that little group ahead of them. And as I say, that little group with Mike Lister is now quite a way off the front 7 of Blodgett and co. We should have a look at that in a minute. Borlée, the Rocket Factory, is 13th, which is in the field of 17. Maybe look a little bit behind the pace. Ned Bowen all the way back there in 16th. Not like Ned at all. He's picked up a bit of speed, taking over Kevin Mitchell. I think that's just taking a turn on the front, to be honest. I think these two are going to have to work together to get around the course. It's a big gap though. So let's have a look at the front. We've got the 3 out the front. Then we have the gap back to Blodgett and the next 4, and then the gap back to Mike Schwartz groups. So three groups really out ahead of everybody else is probably how I'd describe that. We've got a front 3. Whether or not Kevin Bouchard-Howell is going to make that one stick, he's just pulled out 9 metres, but it's dropped back down as Rocker and Usborne say, no you don't, we're going to be here for the duration. As Moon Rider's rider just takes a little turn on the front. So I think with 14k to go, there's still you still have to doubt whether everybody's really got that energy to take them all the way round. I mean, it's not the longest race, you might argue, but equally the intensity to which they're doing it does actually drain you. So you might be shorter, but you ride harder. They're nudging 40 kph here. As I say, this race is faster than the other ones we've seen, and it's faster than it was earlier, I think. Look at that, 45 kph being hit there by Rocker. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that I would employ that tactic. I mean, Rocker knows his body, his abilities, and his capacity to do this better than I do. But 13k, group of 3, I think I would probably just maintain a speed. I don't think you're going to want to be out solo for 13k to the finish for sure. That is a tall order by any stretch of the imagination. As we look at the guys in the pain cave, and Helfenstein grimacing a little bit. Mike's got his head down looking at the monitor, no doubt, listening to me. He'll probably give us a wave in a second, I'm sure he will. And Paul Kilgore wiping his forehead there with a bit of sweat. Austin Parker, see that blur of his hands. That's quite a good. I think as a film director would love to get that shot, wouldn't they? I mean, that's thanks, Mike. And Sandy Koeman up there at the top, we see the side profile of those big muscles developed from hand cycling that would probably make my legs look skinny. But what a great shot anyway. So well done everybody for going into the Zoom room and showing us the pain cave, and that's I think it does tell you a lot about what this kind of looks like, because it all looks very glossy and television like when you're watching these sort of avatars spinning around in beautiful bright colours that cycling jerseys tend to have, and then you sort of go and see, you know, the grimy sweaty reality of us all absolutely gasping for breath and pouring with sweat somewhere in our garage, shed or front room, kitchen or whatever utility room, wherever we're allowed to do our indoor cycling by the other members of our family. And it's the garage for me, which is quite nice in the winter because it's quite cool, but the summer's not so great. Men B, that peloton's thinned down a little bit, hasn't it? It's you know, down to what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 riders in that group now. Bird, Nelson, Giddis, Klecker, Mai, Geru, Platini, May, and Begalowski making up that front group. At Mai for Austria, just taking the lead there, still just behind him. Platonotus, Platonius, sorry, Greek, because Greeks always have long names, don't they? They don't, but it just seems that they do. If you really want long names, Sri Lankans, and it's not all Sri Lankans, and I can't remember which ones it is, but depending on your sort of ethnicity within Sri Lanka, some, you know, they seem to have 26-letter surnames. And I was once a lecturer doing evening classes, teaching people, and I had a class full of Sri Lankan students, and we couldn't actually fit their names into the register because they were so long. So if just to warn you, as I say, it's not all Sri Lankans though, it depends which ethnicity they are, and I can't remember which one it is, but great names, absolutely fantastic. And it's probably takes longer to sign your signature, doesn't it? So it's, anyway, looking back at this further back in the men's B race, and colourful jerseys, and orange is always a bright colour, as we have Rizdet Israel, who from the Netherlands, and he's with Chang, and I think that's the Hong Kong flag, isn't it? That's the I'm trying to think what it is. I think that's Hong Kong for Chang. With Dunstan from the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and the Canadian Mondelli, and Breaku, David Breaku, by the looks of it, from the Netherlands. That's why he's wearing orange, isn't it? It's Dutch colour, the House of Orange, and Dutch football team, of course, wear orange. It's interesting how some of the when I say Dutch football team, if you're listening to this in the USA, I do mean soccer. Interestingly, the Dutch flag has no orange in it, but the orange comes from the royal family, and the soccer team, the national soccer team, were orange. Similarly with Italy, the flag is of course red, green and white, and I wondered for years why the Italian soccer team wore blue, and I believe it's from the House of Savoy, whose royal colours were blue. And for those who know their history better than me, of course, 150 years ago, Italy didn't exist. It was lots of little different principalities, largely brought together, I believe, by Garibaldi, and formed into a country. So, and similarly with Germany, of course, it was quite a few different countries, including Prussia, and these countries all came together. And when the football teams decided, or soccer teams decided which kits to wear, they sometimes didn't actually go with the colours of the flag, which you'd expect. And certainly with the Netherlands, they chose the royal orange, not that they were a separate bunch of principalities, but they went with the orange of the royal family, and the Italians with the blue of the House of Savoy, as I understand it. Of course, cycling teams change their jerseys according to their sponsors, don't they? So we should be very familiar with the notion that you can change your colours quite easily, and I think it's quite interesting when you're watching some of the professional racing, when you get reminded that actually this team's been around 30 years, and you're thinking, have they? I don't remember that kit 20 years ago. And they point out it's the same team as used to be called something else because of the sponsors. Motorsport is much the same, isn't it? Named after manufacturers. Whereas things like soccer tend to have branded images with the club. I'm sure that's the same with most of the American sports as well. I mean, who doesn't know the LA Lakers badge or the New York Yankees badge? I mean, these are just worldwide brands these days, aren't they? So anyway, that's whatever your preferred team is in the United States. I'm sure these are brands that are known worldwide through fans. I mean, particularly I think with basketball and American football. Anyway, back to cycling. We have a nice array of jerseys here that RGT provide. I mean, I've watched, having been involved in RGT for a couple of years, I've watched the choice for jerseys just grow and grow and grow. It's been fantastic. And the peloton looks resplendent as a result, doesn't it? So anyway, we shall see. Paracycling looks like that we might have a little bit of a split there. So we're probably not going to have that sprint finish that we thought we might. 600 meters now, Berenier's pulled away. So all my predictions of this might be a bit of a sprint finish. If it is, it happened probably 4k from home. 3.3k to go now. Remember, these are shorter races. So the men's A and the men's B, about 33 kilometres and about 20 kilometres for the paracycling and hand cycling. So within sight of the finish in paracycling, and it looks as that lead in the few, in the minute or so we've been looking at this, Kogor is now 770, nearly 800 meters behind. It was 500 when we picked up this picture. Rennie's he's getting away. Of course, 2.9 kilometers to go. You can still burn out. It's been seen. I mean, I've had to sit here and watch many of races in my own series where somebody's gone clear and you're just busy sort of lauding them for winning, and actually the pelotons come up and swept them up. So anyway, Kilgore, I'm afraid he's looking like second position. Still a podium slot, think of it like that. Third podium slot for the camera bot, of course. I wonder if they look like. Anyway, never mind that. Let's have a look at the men's A, shall we? See if those three are still huddling together at the front. Hopefully we can have a look at that in a second. Yeah, here we go. It's fraught, isn't it? You get the impression that some people have got a little bit more in the legs than others. I mean, Mike Usborne there putting out 5 kilowatts, 5 watts per kilogram. He's been caught by the other two, but you do wonder if he's just sort of testing them out, burning them out. 4th place, Jaeger, just about to lap 12th place, Velis from Canada. And it shows you how far this is strung out. And remember, this is men's category A racing. I mean, these are decent riders. This is, the elite category 1, 2, 3. If you're comparing it with real life racing, or Zwift A and B, if you're comparing with Zwift, say. So the men's B race would be C and D in Zwift, and categories 4, 5, 6 for real road racing. I'm not sure every country goes down to category 4, 5, 6. I mean, for example, in the UK, we stop at 4. So, it's put it this way: it's Cat 4 racing in the B group, and above that in the A group if you're from the UK. But as I say, I think the UCI basically those categories are universal. It's just that in the USA, as I understand it, you go down to category 6, which we don't. So. These three now, well, it looks like 4, but of course we've got the 11th place rider who's been lapped, so that's not necessarily too much reading. Mike Swart there in 8th place now in the men's A race. Mike Lister just put in a bit of effort to make sure that he's not dropped by Mike Swart, so it's Mike and Mike on the bike. It's the poetry gets worse, by the way, because once you've used all the good ones, you have to start using the really awful, cheesy ones, don't you? Usborne, these little groups, sticking together. Nobody's managed to drop anybody else. Usborne from Moon Riders there. 5.6 kilometres to go. You might see someone have a dig sometime soon. We're still over 2 laps away, so I think it's a little bit too early. We have seen people try, and Rocker goes for it now. Just as I say, I don't think anybody's going to ever go Rocker, but it's hard to tell just watching it, because you don't know what these guys are going on, what's going on in their heads. You don't know what's going on in their legs, do you? I mean, somebody might be sitting there just wishing the end would come any minute now, and somebody else is just sitting there working out how they're going to use this spare energy to thrash the others on the line. Who knows? Paracycling, 700 meters for Bereni. He's going to win. Oh, look at that! He's pulled out over 1 kilometre in that short time. That's quite phenomenal, actually. That has to be said. They rode around for a lot of that race together, and Bereni was just leaving it. Bereni just leaving it for the end, and he's absolutely crushed Lugari at the end. Well done, both gentlemen. I think it's fantastic. I want to see more paracyclists in these races. But yeah, that was phenomenal and emphatic. Brenye from the United States beating Kilgore from the United States. So an All-American race won by an All-American boy. How's that? Absolutely fantastic. At 250 metres, unless somebody pulls the plug out, he's going to win. And I hope there's not sort of like a snarly little kid going, "Oh, that'd be funny, wouldn't it?" and pulls the plug out. I'm sure stranger things have happened. Look at that. We did have a race the other day where some poor girl got, Cara Bono got stuck about 100 metres from the line or something. I think it was absolutely painful to watch. It was so unfair. So well done, Brenye, our first winner of the day. Kilgore is up there, still pedalling away. We see him in the pain cave with the wheel stuck behind him, and he looks quite calm and collected, and he knows he's going to finish second, podium place. And very well done, Paul Kilgore. I'm sure it's Kilgore, but I could be wrong. So I think back to the men's A's, B's hand cycling. Kilometres to go for the hand cycling. Andre from Deutschland, Germany, is a clear winner from Kuman by about 80 metres now. So that's reasonably close, actually. I mean, you might not think so, because that 80 metres is not going to be caught, I don't think, in the last 900 metres. But that's it's a reasonably close race. I mean, the gap's been pulled out more. Kuman's it's over 100 metres now. So quite a phenomenal finish by Andre from Deutschland. But as I say, I think that's a reasonably close race when you look at the reality of the situation. It's to do 20 kilometres and be that close at the end, and there's only two of you in the race, I think is I would class that as a close race, even if really we didn't quite have the photograph finish at the end that we'd all love to see, wouldn't we? I mean, you don't really need photograph finishes on e-racing, do you? Because it automatically works out who's won for you, doesn't it? So none of that hanging about waiting for the judges to tell you that they've actually just reversed the result you thought you had. It's clear, it's emphatic, it's e-racing. This is e-racing on RGT. It is the best platform for e-racing. Make no mistake. It is growing. It is going to be a phenomenal year in 2022. Sit here with Echelon Racing and all the other organisers on RGT who are putting together some great races. The OTR series, my listen's got his own coming up, my own, the West London VR races every other Wednesday, and Friday Frenzy from South District Wheelers. And there's plenty of others. Go on RGT and have a look and get involved. So here we are. Andre wins the hand cycling race. Well done, sir. And Kuman not far behind. Just emphasising how close this race really was. Well done to everybody involved. I salute you. Right, nearly there, 20 metres and over the line. Big round of applause from all the crowd avatars there, and you can pull up and go and get a nice drink and a shower. So we're down to the men's A's and the men's B's. It's not an elimination, it's just they're doing a longer race. Only about 3 kilometres to go in the B race, but I think we need to focus on the A race first, where we have 1.9 kilometres to go. Might as well see this one through to the finish. Group of 3 still together, but obviously piling on the pressure all the time. 2% gradient and still doing 40 kph. You know that the pressure is being put on, and they're looking for signs of weakness amongst that 3. Jaeger, who had a bit of a turn out the front there earlier on and looked quite strong, is going to have to settle for 4th. I think he's not going to get caught by anybody behind him. Blodgett with 650 metres behind him, but is Usborne, the Canadian, is he going to put out 1.5 kilometres to go? I think that's a bit too early to do it. Yeah, I think the A race is getting rather exciting here. When you look at the 3 of them, it's Rocker at the moment you know, there's a little gap there. He's just pulled out 5-8 meters on the others. Osborne's not having it. Kevin Bouchard-Howe fighting to stay on the group. He gets on, he sits back down again, and Rocker gives it another little dig out the front. They're inside the last kilometre. Very little to go now, 900 metres. They're all looking at each other. It's neck and neck. Osborne in the Moon Riders jersey just nudging out the front. Rocker taking a turn. Is he actually giving a push or just ends up in front? Kevin Bouchard-Howe sitting in there, making the most of Rocker's wheel. 2 Americans and Canadian. This is a North American race, and Osborne just let it slip a little bit with 600 metres to go. He's back on, but I think Osborne might just be fighting to stay on the wheels of these two, or is he playing games? Rocker's gone for it. Kevin Bouchard-Howe is closing him down. Osborne is fighting to stay there, but Osborne maybe is saving it all to the end. 400 metres to go. It's Bouchard-Howe and Osborne now. Rocker is the man fighting to get on, but he's flies past, and that might be the move. That might be the move. It looks like it's 300 metres to go. He's just pulled out, what, 9 metres? But no, Kevin Bouchard-Howe and Osborne are fighting back. Can Rocker hold this out? 200 metres seems like a long way when you've got to do it all under this sort of pressure at this sort of pace. But he's holding the gap. He's holding the gap. You can see the finishing line. He's going to do it. What a phenomenal finish by Rocker. Kevin Bouchard-Howe taking the 2nd place and Osborne 3rd for Canada. United States 1 or 2. Absolutely phenomenal racing by Rocker. That was time to perfection. He went to the back, looked like he was just about to fall off, and then shot past them, gave them no chance at just the right moment. About 200-300 yards to go. Meters to go, sorry. Jaeger takes the 4th place after putting a phenomenal little stint on the front earlier on in the race. Longley now and Blodgett probably going to have a little duking it out to 700 meters to go. What's happening in the B race? They're inside the last kilometre. May is on the front of this little group of 5 riders. He's pulled away from Bird, and well, you should see May from Austria, Bird from the United States. We've got Kleckner from the United States, still from the United States, and Plantaniatis from Greece, making up the 5 that are going to contest this one. Kleckner in 3rd. In fact, that's a group of 3 now, because Plantaniatis and Still are off the back. So Bird, Kleckner or May, the Australian and 2 Americans there fighting this one out. The Greek and Still are off this little group. They've only got 400 metres to go. They all 3 are together as they overtake a back marker. Remember, this is a crit race, so it's all on laps. 41 kph at the moment, putting out over 4 watts per kilogram, but they're neck and neck. You can't tell who's going to go for this. This is probably going to be all 3 of them, or somebody's going to go on about 100 metres would be my guess. Bird and May have just the elastic snap for Kleckner, so this is between Bird and May as we come up to the line. Bird absolutely pushing it. Can May? No, he can't. It's Bird's race. I thought May might just pull round him on the line, but he didn't. Plantaniatis for Greece is in 5th, still gets 6th in that race. Well, 2 fantastic sprints. We've been quite privileged today. We saw Ronkanen win emphatically in the ladies' race. We've had some great sprint finishes. Really good ones both in the men's A and B's today. So this has been an absolute brilliant afternoon's entertainment if you're in Europe, or morning's entertainment if you're the other side of the Atlantic, or anywhere else in the world. I'm not going to go through every time zone, but wherever you are. So the hand cycling results there, hand biker, which is probably not the real name of the winner, but and Sandy Koopman in the hand cycling results. Not a lot in that. 43.53 the time for first place, and only sort of 21 seconds behind for second place. So quite a close race, even though it wasn't contested toe to toe on the finishing line. Similarly here, I mean, it wasn't massive really. 2 minutes 20 seconds over 20. You know, I mean, it was yeah, it was emphatic in the end. I mean, they were together for a long time, and when Berenier went, he was superb. He was absolutely superb. But it wasn't as how should we say? It wasn't as if we spent the whole race with them far apart. It was the latter stages when Berenier put down the power and emphatically won in quite impressive style. Kilgore is, of course, a regular rider on this, and it's great to have him along. And I think he is a decent contestant. So to win by 2 minutes 20 seconds from Kilgore is very well done indeed to Joe Berenier. So turning to the other races and the results that we have for you so far. Men's B, we've had the first day in, or certainly classified. Mitch Bird over Daniel May, Nathan Kleckner, George Plataniotis, and Jeremiah still making up the top 5. Time gaps there, not a lot between Bird and May. We just saw that cracking sprint finish. Kleckner being dropped right at the end. I mean, the full minute in the end behind, which I'm surprised at because it wasn't far from the end where he got dropped. Plataniotis further back at what should I say? Sorry, that's not a minute, is it? It's a second. I beg your pardon. So it's close as I was thinking. 3 seconds to Plataniotis. Jamar still 10 seconds. Ivan Gaitis at 14 seconds. Richard Nelson at 15 seconds. And you remember at some point in that race we were commenting this group of 7, and then that got fragmented, of course. That group of 7 all within 15 seconds. And then look at the gap back to Joshua Boguslavski, who was 42 seconds off the finisher. And then look at that, Francesco Mondelli, 2 minutes 29 seconds, 0.362. That I think tells you the story that this was a very, very fragmented race, and we can see people still finishing here. I'm not sure what flag that one is from Intelligentsia, but I'm trying to work out which African flag it is. Forgive me, I beg your pardon, but still, you know, we were watching people coming in 12th position. So, and this is now what? How many minutes behind? It's 53 minutes, so we're 5 minutes behind in 12th position. So that's, I think that tells you the story. I can't quite tell what flag that is. It keeps moving around. It might be Ghana, but I could very well be wrong. Men's A, Mason Rocker. Well, in the end, it was emphatic, a second ahead of Kevin Bouchard, but we didn't know that until very close to the end, and Matt Osborne was in that too. Yaden Jaeger, who put out a very big attack earlier on in the race, 25 seconds behind, but all on his own in 4th, because it was another 1 minute before David Blodgett and others like Bruno Langlois and JP Venn. Oh, it's Venn, not Vern, wasn't it? Sorry, that was my misreading that. Mike Lister at 8th, 2 minutes 16, putting in a fine stint and actually just pipping Mike Schwartz on the line there by 0.3 of a second, probably actually more like closer to 0.2 of a second. Marcin Krishwanis is 2 minutes 17, so not far behind Mike Schwartz there, as was John Noonan. So that's that group. And then you get another one of these great big gaps back, and we were just looking at 12th place being contested a moment ago. You see Mike Gavalis got it, 4 minutes 30 off the winner, and over 2 minutes behind John Noonan in 11th. So that's how big the gaps were. And as I say, I think it is this tactic. If you race hard off the front, you don't do it to break away, you do it to drop people off the back of the group and just thin the groups down and down and down, because once you've got big gaps, if you are in smaller groups, you can probably hold those gaps, and you might have distanced very good riders. I mean, we saw for example Ned Bowen, who's a top rider, distance because he probably found himself the wrong side of a gap and was never going to make it back, and just probably sat down and realised that was that for the day and finished off the race. Well, he hasn't finished off the race because his name's not on the list, of course, but we shall no doubt see it populating the results very, very soon. Any more in for the men's Bs? That's what we want to go and have a look at next. Oh, Ned Bowen, there we are. I'll tell you, well, Didn't I tell you that his name would still be up there? 7 minutes down for Ned Bowen. That's quite a shock result. Chris Mitchell, another 15 seconds behind Ned there. Ned a full minute behind Jason Smith, but at least he populated as I predicted. And therefore, it's quite comforting when you get something right as a commentator, because there's a certain amount of you're trying to read so many things at once. We've been very populated here. Marion Hambrick, rider I love. He's a great little rider. He's in a lot of these races. Didn't get to see him properly today, did we? We'll have to make up for that next time out. So, Mitch Bird, as we know, and we've been through these before, Daniel May, Kleckner, Plataniotis, Jeremiah Still, Ivan Gaddis, Richard Nelson, Joshua Boguslavski and Francesco Mondelli, we've mentioned before. Ashley Dunstan is the next one in. He was actually just behind Francesco Mondelli, and he was 18 seconds ahead of David Broku. Then there's another over 2 minutes between 11th and 12th to Kuro Njinga, who I think may have had a Ghanaian flag, but I am not sure. Andrew Billing and Tristan Twitt and Mahita Bene all contested that sprint, as you can see from the times, with Kuro Njinga coming out top of that little bunch. Then just behind them, and must have been in the same sprint actually, so sorry to have omitted you from that, Rodolfo Aguilar, before a 15-second gap to Warren Nelson, Marion Hambrick, so we always enjoyed watching him race, and Alexander, who had a little sprint, trio sprint there, and Marion Nelson taking it 0.4 of a second ahead of Marion Hambrick. And that is not a lot, but it's fine margins in bike racing, as we know. So how many races have we had in? We've had 20 in the men's B. I'm not sure, there were something like 41 entrants, which tends to give the impression there's quite a few more on the circuit still, as we can see from the helicopter shot there, somebody going around one of those tight bends. You can see just how tight they are, and we all know that if we were actually out on real roads, we'd go around the outside of that bend on a closed road, but obviously that's not quite how RGT works, and you get, I think it depends how you set your bike up, but you probably won't really want to set your bike up so you're always on the outside, because it can be longer, of course. It's a tight bends where it benefits you. And as you see the wonderful landscape when we watch a solo rider going around one of those little chicanes. Now I'm not sure if this is a real road chicane that really exists, but you would ask yourself, why would somebody curve that road? And I always remember being told when I was younger that it's a lot of these, particularly in Europe, a lot of the roads are bendy because somebody sort of just curled the road round a tree that was once there, that's no longer there, and centuries later we've still got the road built on the same path, and it has a bend that nobody needs. But anymore anyway. Might have gone around a pond or something like that used to be there. A real road, I suppose, wouldn't actually go around in a loop like that, would it? Unless it was going up a mountain, which this is clearly not. This is a crit race. Remember, of course, in reality, that this is a crit race, and it's going around a lake and a sports ground, as you saw from the image of the circuit before. So it's a crit race, so it's using contours of the lake, contours of where buildings are and things like that, so those little curves will be down to that sort of thing. I don't know if you've got any more results beyond 20th to populate your screens with at the moment. Let's have a look. Oh, well, let's have a look at what we've got coming up. Tour of the Gila, 2nd of Jan we've already done. Tulsa Tough 15th was yesterday, and the Intelligentsia Cup. So I didn't do yesterday. For some reason I got allocated Intelligentsia. I'm not sure it's because of intelligence, but I got the Intelligentsia Cup on that crit race. I hope Tulsa Tough was as good and enjoyable as that. But it's not over yet. We've got the Joe Martin stage race on the 29th of January. So all to play for. Look forward to that. I think I may not be here on the 29th of January because there is certainly some pressing engagement in my diary at the moment that looks like I'm not going to be available. So whoever gets the pleasure of your company and enjoying the Echelon Series community racing on that date, I hope it was as good as today's. I've never been disappointed with any of this. Thoroughly enjoyable stuff, and I'm almost a little bit upset that I can't do the 29th of January one. I have to say there are two things in my diary, and I think even if one gets moved, I can't do it because of the other one. So there we are. This is the pro side of it. They've got more races to go. They have this circuit next week, the Intelligentsia Cup, 23rd of January, so that's next week, that's next Sunday. They do Joe Martin stage race a week after the community races, so they go into February, the 4th or 6th of February for the Joe Martin stage races, and the league championships on the 12th of February. So more to come, much more to come from the pro racing. One more chance to enjoy Echelon community racing. I'm sadly going to have to miss that one, but it's been an absolute privilege and pleasure to have been part of this excellent series this winter, and I really do hope that I can be involved next year and have your company, and we can enjoy as much exciting racing, and I predict by then we'll have even bigger fields for the ladies, the hand cycling and the paracycling. So lots and lots to look forward to, and thank you very much to Echelon and ZMS for bringing us coverage as well. Have we got many on the road? I just wonder how many more we have to finish. We do like to see everybody finish. Look at whoever that is. It's lap 4. It might be one of the bots actually, so I'm not going to read too much into that, although I keep going. I can't believe that anybody's still on lap 4. Just look how tight that bend is. I mean, that's more than 90 degrees. Just look at the effect. The bike almost slows down to a halt to get around it, but as you would in real life. The next bend is 90 degrees, but it's just not as sharp, is it? It curls around a little bit, and then these wiggly bits here. So that's probably most of the coverage, I would guess. And okay, so that's that's all for today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.